Okay, here's another project we've got going today. This component right here is part of the steering, and that is called the drag link or center link. And this goes from the steering box over to the rest of the steering components to translate that into left and right motion. And let me show you where that thing goes under here. If you can see, right under there, get it down a little bit, there we go, comes off of the steering box. That's the bottom of it right there, the pitman arm, and then it goes across over there. That's got a little slack in it, and so that needs to be replaced to tighten up the steering a little bit. So that's my next project. Should not be too terribly difficult. It's just got to remove that one safety pin, take the nut off. Then I've got a ball joint separator that you just hammer in there and it pulls those two pieces apart. Put the new one in, put the nut back on, reverse the process. Should be good to go, and hopefully everything will be good. All right, let me get to work on that and I'll show you what it looks like when I've got it done. Well, there's the old one, got it out. It's pretty nasty, and those things are in there. If you can see, that is a beveled bolt that goes in. That shank that's there is not straight, so it's on a bevel, and so it goes in and it's held in pretty tight when you put that nut on. And so you have to use one of these tools right there, the silver one, with the hammer to slide in between the framework and that ball joint and pound it in until it finally breaks it loose, because you're not going to get that out with your hands or by just banging on it a little bit. It's going to take an awful lot of pressure. And here is the new one, all installed in place where it is. All I've got to do is just shoot a little grease into the zerts on the top of each one of those, and we'll call that good. Then crank it up and see if I've got any slack in the steering. Also, I noticed when I was under there, if you can see, right there on that Cat 5 cable that I ran, apparently the zip tie I had on it came off, broke, or whatever, and it is rubbing up against the tire. So I'm going to have to get under there and put another zip tie on that. All right, back in a bit. Let's see how it does. Okay, now for the next project. Steering does seem to be better, but I've still been having the issue with the horsepower dropping off after you get over about 1/4 throttle after the engine gets warmed up. I finally have realized that when it's cold, the engine seems to do fine, but once it starts getting warmed up, that's when I start having the loss of power at anything over 1/4 throttle. It just doesn't respond like it should. So that little device right there is the temperature sending unit. So that tells the computer and your temperature gauge what the temperature of your engine is. And it also sends information to the computer that manages the fuel flow and all that other stuff. So if that thing is not sending the correct information, it's not going to be getting the right fuel-air mixture to the engine. So that may be the problem. It was about a $20 part, so I'm going to replace it. And I don't know if you can see down in here where that is, but right past that clamp in the hose, right there, that's it on the front of the engine. So I've got to remove that one and put this other one in. It could be worse. It's not in a great place. If this were a regular vehicle where you could just open the hood and get to it, that would be fine. You're on the front. But I've got to come at it from the back of the engine because of the way this motorhome is built. Okay, let me see if I can get that thing out. Hopefully it is the right one, and we'll be back in a bit. Okay, the engine's running, the new part is in, so things seem to be running pretty smoothly. A little bit difficult to actually see where that part is up in there, but the new one is there, it's in there. underneath those wires. So it's there. The engine's running smooth, which is always a good sign. The temperature gauge is coming up, so we'll just have to see how it does. Well, on to the next project, and that's going to be putting some new lighting in. Let me just turn around here and show you. Whoops. Those lights right there, the fluorescent lights. I put the LED light bulbs in there, but it seems like the ballast have burned out on a couple of these lights, and it's too expensive to replace the ballast, and I can replace the whole unit with just the LED type lights a lot cheaper. So that's the next thing I'm going to be doing. So we're going to let this thing run for a little bit just to see how it does. I don't see any leaks or anything on it so far, so that is good. You can see that brass looking thing in there. That's the new sensor. So it's doing good. Look over here at the temperature gauge. Temperature has come up a little bit, so that seems to be working. We'll just let it run for a little bit and see what the temperature gets up to. But there we go. And like I say, the next project is to work on these lights. Back after a while.